Good afternoon, welcome to the Terrace Talks. Let's continue the journey with Yahusha along the trip here. Not before we got here, we left Byron Bay and got up early in the morning, made a video, and then got a word from Yahusha. Go and visit your sister who's been very angry at you and hates your husband and hates Yahusha and turned all the family, my family are against Yahusha and against my husband for 45 years. Hating him, not wanting to see him. And so I thought, wow, Yahusha wants this. When do we do it? We hear from Yahusha. I had to go and do it straight away. So we drove 20 kilometres out of Byron to go and visit her. She wasn't there when I arrived. I knocked on the door and her daughter was there, both her daughters are out from America. So I was just about to leave, and then my sister reappeared in the garden. And she said, "Oh, I saw someone up there in the car," and and she was actually confronted by Chris because he had parked on her strip, and he had to move back. And she looked at him, and she ignored him, and walked down through the garden and around the back, and had to contain herself for some reason before she got to see me, and was surprised to see me. And I wanted to see her, to give her love, tell her I forgave her and loved all the family and want everything to be all right. And had a lovely reunion with her, just talking about our trip and the family and all sorts, and her daughters were there and they were excited to see me, hadn't seen for about 30 years. And that was lovely. But before I left, she had conditions, and she had this bitterness that she wanted to reveal about how we have been to her, towards her and the family for years. And she just wanted me to face all the things from the past, and I let her have it, and I loved her, and I just thought it was very hard. I was sweating going through it all, but she said, she just couldn't get over those things, and she's left with her bitterness, and that's sad. But I left her with love, and we shared a hug and moved on our way. So from Byron we went along the beaches, we drove up along the beaches into a few little towns, and then we came to remember that an old friend of ours, David, lives at Kingscliff. So we contacted his ex-wife, Lindy, and said, could you give us his number? We didn't hear from her, and then all of a sudden, as we were driving, we heard from Dave, and he said, "Hello, how are you? Where are you? Come and visit me." And so we had this wonderful invite to go and visit him in his home, and he gave us the address. So we drove along and came and found him at his lovely home that he's actually just sold. And we were very lucky to find him there, because he's not there very often. And he greeted us in. He said, "Just a moment, there's someone coming." And then there was another car came, and out got this lady, and then all of a sudden Lindy got out, his ex-wife, and she lives up in the Gold Coast. It was about an hour away, and she was visiting a friend down here, and she decided to come around and be with her ex-husband while we were there. Something about that was very interesting. But anyway, we all went in, and it was a bit awkward, and wanted to have a chat, and sat down, and Dave was just reliving the old days, and he'd come to know Jesus. He's Jewish, and his Jewish heritage, and his whole family are Jewish, and he came to accept Jesus back in 1995, and we all went down to Bondi Beach, and they immersed themselves, and Dave and Lindy were married with one child then, and now they've had 6 children over the years, and they're all grown up and married with children. So they've had a life together, and then they separated, they divorced 20 years ago, I think. So this has been their life, and we had time to have a chat. Now Christopher wanted to make contact with Dave, so he took him outside and had a great chat with Dave and told him about Yahusha, told him about the name and told him so much. And then it was time for the other two girls, for Lindy and Narelle, to leave, so they had to leave. And we were just there talking to Dave. He has so much scripture in him because he's been in churches for so long and been involved with churches. He's just a lovely, outgoing, giving person, and been used by religious people all the time, being used and come under them and not free. And he's been searching. He didn't know any other way out until he found Yahusha's name and all the Hebrew understandings, the Ruach HaKodesh, and all the things that he knew in Hebrew, because used to be a scholar, a Hebrew scholar when he was a child, and grew up in the Jewish religion, and he knew Yahusha was his deliverer. He finally found Yahusha as his deliverer. And we talked and talked, and the time was going. We were there for hours just talking around the kitchen table, and he got to the point where he could see he didn't have Yahusha's spirit. It was a different spirit. With Jesus, it's a different spirit. It's not just different names, not just swap over the names. He realized he didn't have the set apart spirit, and that was very important for him, the Ruach. So he went into his room and came out with a towel around his shoulders and his swimmers on, and he said, "What's stopping me? There's the pool there, I'm here, there's water there." And in his beautiful home, he's got a lovely pool in a courtyard right next to the lounge room. And Chris said, "Well, hang on a minute, you've got to understand this." And he was pulling him back and saying, "Do you understand, what you're doing, and how you're going to go through this when you go into the waters and you want to die to yourself? What's going to happen to you? You're going to be flogged, and you're going to be goaded, and what all this means. And Yahusha wants to train and teach you." So Yahusha's presence was so exciting, and there was laughter, and there was joy, and there was excitement, and he was yelling and carrying on. And then he finally said, "Look, stop, I want to get immersed. Stop, don't stop me anymore, I want to get immersed." And he was crying out to get immersed, and he went, and then he read in the book Demons Are Real that he needed to have the right name and get the right spirit to get the incorruptible seed out. Not before that. Through the conversation earlier on, he'd said, "I don't want to hear anymore, I don't want to hear anymore, it's too much, I don't want to know, I don't want to read that book." And then the love came, and we kept talking, Chris kept talking, and he changed his mind. The demons left and the love conquered. And that was wonderful to see how Yahusha broke through and broke that stony heart. He went into the pool and immersed himself while we were on the side cheering and just elated and so excited. He came out and he felt free and happy, and he was rejoicing and just so happy. He couldn't stop talking, and we were chatting, and then it got to 8:30, and he said, "Look, what are we going to have to eat? Let's go and have something to eat." So we went and had something to eat, came back, and over the meal he could see, and we could see the love, and we could see that he'd changed. And he even told us that he still loved his wife that he'd divorced, and he had asked her to marry him again 10 years ago, and that he still wanted to get back with her. And that was very sad, because from Lindy we'd been given the impression that he didn't like her and that she was badly done by. So very interesting. And when Lindy left yesterday, she said, "Let's catch up for coffees today, the next day." So that's today. And so after we got up this morning, we went into Tweed Heads and did our laundry, and we came back and we met up with them at a cafe right on Kingscliff beach where we are here, and had this wonderful talk. And she brought her friend with her, who is a church friend and someone she's known for years. And actually I was sitting next to Lindy and I was chatting with her and talking to her about life and her relationship, and she's mad on sailing and wants to go sailing, and where she feels free and happy, and she's just having her own life to herself. And I talked to her about Dave and how he really wants to get back with you and he loves you, and she said, oh no, that's not going to happen, not going to happen. Anyway, Chris was talking to Narelle, the other lady, and she's highly religious and right into the church, and he explained to her all about the new covenant, Yahusha, how Yahusha loves her and his name, and about getting immersed in his name and getting the right spirit. He must have said something amazing, because after the lunch she was just a changed person. She was very, very down and dull and in her personality, and after the breakfast she was just alive and just full of life and positivity, and says, I want to get immersed. I want to get immersed. I want Yahusha's name and get immersed. So we went up to the beach after that, and we just sat there talking, and then Chris was able to talk to Lindy and talk to her about her experience and how she felt and what she felt about Dave. And she's holding so much bitterness, and it's very sad. And she could see the bitterness, and she could see that the 3 rules would really help her. She understands what she's holding. She can see that she's been chosen, and Yahusha's given her consequences, and he's goading her and flogging her, and she can see, but she doesn't want to give up her life. She wants to have her life to herself. And this is the way Yahusha comes to us. Brothers and sisters, this is how, if we want our own way, he will let us, but he will also let us know after a time the suffering and the torment and the things that go wrong, that you never can be satisfied with anyone else or anything else, or any culture, country, gourmet, any amazing place where you go on this earth cannot satisfy you in any way like Yahusha's love and his peace. And Chris and I were able to explain and tell her our testimony, how we both hated each other and were angry and were so aggressive and so hurt and held bitterness and tortured each other for years, until we came together and understood about how he wants us to be in our behaviour. And we've never been in love as much as we are now. We love each other more than at the beginning of our relationship when we first fell in love. And this is an incredible witness, because we know that nothing in this world can give you that true satisfaction, that true love, where you can talk about anything. You don't have to have ideas and thoughts, I couldn't say that to my husband, I can't say that, I have to do this and manoeuvre that way around, and I have to tread lightly here. We can talk openly about anything and say anything to each other. We don't take things personally, and we let each other have it, and we're having the most wonderful experience and relationship now in our lives. And I'm so excited, because it can be a witness. All those dreadful things that I never wanted anyone to know about me are coming to be a witness and helping people to see miracles can happen in your life. This is where we're up to in our journey. We've had the most exciting last 2 days, where Yahusha has moved in this realm with Dave and Lindy and Narelle, and had a victory. Dave getting immersed right in front of us last night, and he just said, what's stopping me? There's the water. Here I am. I want to get immersed. I want to be delivered. He could see the word deliverance was what he needed. And he's just sold his home, and he's moving up to downsize up to the Gold Coast, and he's just his life is in a change, and it's the time in his life where Yahusha has come, and he's been searching since 1980s. It was in the 80s, I'm sure. Yeah, it was before we had our child. 1980s, where we went and where Dave came into our salon in Oxford Street when we were still there. He came and had a haircut, and Chris brought the scriptures out to him while he was cutting his hair, and he had tears and was touched by Yahusha right back in the 1980s, and that's where he got him baptized on Bondi Beach, and that was the beginning of our relationship with Dave and Lindy. And now it's come full circle. All their kids have grown up and they've separated, and now Yahusha wants to bring it all back together, and I believe his love will do that. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next time.